We are going back to nationals. And by back to nationals, I don't mean we're going literally back to nationals because they haven't taken place yet. But some of the national strategy we touched on, it wasn't last week, was it? It was 2 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago?
Something
A
like
while
that.
ago.
Now that we have this is the last wave available for nationals, correct?
I would think so.
No, I'm pretty sure you can get. Well, I mean, I think that the next wave will be legal, but I'm not sure you'll be able to actually buy it unless you have it like rush delivered from Europe or something.
And even then, I don't know that Europe will have it.
All right, let me take a quick look here.
Unless WizKids is selling it at Maryland.
Which could be. That could happen.
Well, they're not going to have Wave 14 on April 11th. Oh, wait. Unless they have it as available as pre-order. Okay, that's a good point.
That would be interesting. But nobody's going to incorporate it into a build.
You'd like to think so.
But nobody would know the cards. I mean, that's...
I would buy them all, crack them open, and be like, okay, I'm running this.
I would crack them and see if there was anything that significantly changed my game plan. ISS Avenger has significant... I mean, imagine if the ISS Avenger was 4-hull. Like, think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would change everything. Or if the Pegasus cloaking device turned out to be really good or something.
All right, legal sets for nationals. All through Wave 14 and Peak Performance. So next wave, this and next wave are legal, assuming that you actually can get a hold of them.
Yeah, which Peak Performance isn't even going to be out. Like, that's been announced not officially from WizKids, but game stores have been saying that's May now.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, beyond that, adding the new stuff from this last Wave 13, I really still like Madrid, but let me go back to what we were talking about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about probably the things that you would have to beat, not because they were probably going to win, but because they were just all around strong, and a lot of people would probably run them. Being the 3 Borg list, the 2 Borg, 2 fighters, and 3 ships plus 3 fighters. I did get a chance to test a little bit of this over the last couple weeks. Let's see, 3 Borg is actually remarkably good against the 3 and 3. While the 3 and 3 has, the 3 fighters and 3 more ships to go along with it, after you start taking down the fighters, unless you're getting really lucky with the Vulcan ships or your Constitutions, depending on what you're running, it's still fairly easy for the Borg player to really skirt your range 3. That being said, of course, skirting around at range 3 is not going to help you if you drew Nebula for your attack.
Womp womp.
Apart from that, though, you will still wreck them because if you're doing anything smart, you should 100%, no matter what list you are running at Nationals, you should be running at least 1, 2, or 3 copies of Cloaked Mines. Cloaked Mines are going to be the ones that can drop the fighters. The fighters are terrible in, not necessarily completely terrible, but pretty bad in Meteor Storm, but they will wreck you in Nebula. So you need a counter to that, which is the counter to fighters to begin with, is pretty much been the Cloaked Mines, since they're going to be chasing down your Borg spheres or trying to go around, which will not end well for them in any way, shape, or form, really. I forgot what the first part of that sentence was. But, yeah, 3 Borg are remarkably strong against 3 ships and 3 fighters. So I'm giving the edge to 3 Borg on that one. 3 Borg versus 2 Borg and 2 fighters is really close. The thing with 3 Borg is that it gets really powerful. At some point, you have to start splitting up your Borg. in the tests that I was running, the 3 Borg list pretty much stayed together up until it started getting really chased by fighters, and then once they break in different directions, one of your ships will go down, but the other two will again. Now, since fighters still have arcs, they will be out of fighter arcs, and then you can dance around and just murder everything. Having the Borg ships as backup to the fighters helps negate that a little bit. So the way I saw was usually by the time you killed one of the 3 Borg lists, the 3 Borg ship list, by the time you killed one of them, either you would usually have at least one of the fighters down and some damage on either the other fighter or one of the spheres. So those are all like the main lists. I think that was a big question, was whether the 3 Borg list was actually going to be, whether the 3 Borg list was actually going to be viable. And against fighters, I think it really is, especially if you have some cloaked mine backup. Apart from that, though, I think there's definitely going to be other things, other more more creative, more dark horse builds that are going to have a better time of fighting this, especially if they are also equipped with their usual cloaked mine shenanigans. Tucker, you were bringing up in chat earlier about a list that you were thinking of. What was that one again?
Basically, it was 2 fighters, 2 spheres, and so basically the way it worked is this: you take one of the spheres and you turn it into a mirror Negvar with Admiral Worf on it, which also lets you run Officer Exchange Dominion Borg, and you put Wayun and Brunt on your other sphere. You give up a great deal of maneuverability in exchange, as compared to 2 spheres, 2 fighters, in exchange for having Admiral Worf, number 1. Number 2, being able to run what should we call it? Brunt and Wayun, which is a really annoying combo to play against.
And loads of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you could probably do something. Thinking about it now, like you could probably do something like, I think. Hold on, let me just do some quick mental math here.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually probably do, if you wanted to run generic fighters, I think you could maybe get away with. How many points is that? Hold on.
I'll let you figure that out. One of the things I also noticed.
Not quite. Never mind.
One of the things I also noticed while running with fighters is that Mirror Worf is a huge part of this play, and when you're running 3 fighters and 3 ships without captains, the 3 ships without captains go first. But the problem is you want them behind the fighters. So either you're playing leapfrog, which is hurting your mobility, or you have them like off to one side or the other, in which case you are open to being flanked. Having Worf really gives the fighters a huge amount of additional firepower, especially if you're going up against some kind of defensive build. And the problem with that is, number 1, that Worf will probably you'll want to target down really quickly, but beyond that, Worf is often on a ship that is a lower skill than the fighters, and that is sometimes a very hard thing to deal with, because your fighters won't be in position yet, but you have to use Worf on them you'd have to wait to use Worf on them next turn after they've gotten shot at by whatever you're pursuing or so. So Worf really helps. It really helps to have like Admiral Worf backed up by like Mirror Riker is not a bad choice if you're using Officer Exchange program, because that Mirror Riker can always goes after fighters, because their highest skill is 7 and his skill is 7. But being Mirror Universe, if he's on the proper affiliation of ship, you can make him go last. But yeah, getting Worf after your fighters is a big deal, and I didn't think it was as big of a deal until I started running it. So yes. So Tucker, how'd your calculations go?
As I said, it doesn't quite work. I was trying to see if you could fit a Sung instead of a Mir Negvar, but didn't quite work out. You might be able to do it on a bioship. Just something that's like less of an unwieldy mess than Negvar. No, you can't do it on a bioship. It's also 36. Damn it. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, run some math, people. Be a board to dare at X-Men. No, that's terribly low attack value. I lied. Never mind. Regent's flagship wouldn't be bad though, because it gets the 360 and it's good against fighters. In fact, I might do that. I'll sit down and figure it all out. I don't know.
So that's Tucker's choice is, basically the 2 board, 2 fighter, but trading out one of the board for a little more utility on a regular ship. David, have you thought about nationals at all, or are you happy hanging out there in California?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be in California. I'll be eagerly anticipating news from nationals.
Oh, indeed. I gotta know what's going to happen. But did you actually plan out anything for this now yet, or?
I haven't planned out anything. I mean, we saw crazy shenanigans with regionals. We saw builds that had no business win regionals because the counters that should have been there weren't there. I don't expect that to happen with regionals or with nationals. I think that counter builds will exist, but I think I'm with you on this. I think that I think that a dark horse is going to emerge here. I think that Borg's going to be a part of things. Borg is definitely going to dominate the top 8, I'd say, but I don't know. I think that Cloaked Minds are really going to play a part in things because you have to have that board control.
Yeah,
Fighters are just probably on. I like the triple board. Is really the more I think about it, my money starts to be on triple board, but I don't see it because I really think you have to have upgrades in this game to do anything. But triple Borg might even be double Borg or double sphere scout cube even.
That's what I was starting to think to free up some of those extra points.
Right.
And you can still use Mirror Wharf on a scout cube, can't you?
Yeah.
You can also put the improved deflector screens on it, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
The 3 shields plus the negate a hit with every attack is really strong.
But
which reminds me, by the way, somebody pointed out a really obnoxious thing you can do.
We love obnoxious things. Let's hear it.
You can take an assimilated Burrell and put on improved deflector screens and Borg ablative hull armor.
That is an extremely obnoxious thing to do. And cloak it.
You could cloak it if you wanted to, but I'd rather keep the deflector screens.
Yeah, you have to have active shields for the deflectors. Yeah.
In fact, you can do that and just afford a flagship.
Nice. Because the assimilated rail generally only has like the 2 shields.
Right.
If you get an extra, if you do a flagship on there or a fleet captain or something, you can get the extra tech slots for your cloaked mines and, well, maybe not your cloaked mines on that, but what do I need?
Put an interface generator on that. Or the advanced cloaking, so you're perma-cloaked.
I still really like
Um,
high energy sensors with deflector screens.
Question: interface generator interaction with improved deflector screens?
Will never happen because you'll never have active shield and be cloaked at the same time.
Oh, very good.
Right. But it's an option. You take some hits, be down to one shield, and then you can cloak.
I like cloaking. And you'll still have the extra defense. You'll still have the extra ablative hull armor. It's
Right.
neat, but I think the ablative hull armor is still going to be really expensive for that. And your
It
attack options are not that good, especially if you end up having to pull like 360s to try to keep a Borg sphere or something in arc.
Oh yeah, it's not nationals viable, but it might be OP viable.
And just darn fun.
Yeah.
And like really frustrating to play against.
So,
So, are we gonna do this top 5 business?
I had just one or two other quick things I wanted to go over for nationals real quick. Things that I was thinking of, things that came to mind while I was testing some of these. There's two things that I will share with the community that I think are going to work fairly well, and one of those is going to be the really strange and really weird Maquis list I have in my head, which is going to be finding a way to get a bunch of tech slots on the Maquis fighters, and also getting the deflector screens. I think this is going to be the next variant of Evadager. That you'll have, 4 or 5 modifiable defense dice, as well as, one automatic defense with each attack. Throw in like Evec or other defensive-minded captains like Sar, Terrell, or something like that. I think you can get, let's say, you could fit 3 Maquis ships with some kind of decent weapon, probably like the Disruptor Pulse, or the one that we were just talking about that I didn't remember the name of back then either. What was the Romulan Quantum Torpedoes?
We can just call them Romulan Quantum Torpedoes.
Romulan Quantum Torpedoes, yeah. You can fit 3 of those. Those should have really good defense. They should not be too particularly weak to cloaked mines, especially if, as we surmise, that the deflector actually works against damage from cloaked mines. And I mean, really, the biggest problem would be like fighters. You'd probably, of course, still want to keep cloaked mines in your build in some way, shape, or form, but I don't think these are really that weak to fighters either. With 5 defense dice and a free evade versus the 5 or 6 attack dice that fighters throw that first attack volley, I think you'll survive that pretty well, and then after that, once you get them down like 1 or 2 tokens each, you're not even really worried about them anymore. The other Dark Horse build that I was just thinking about, and if I can remember it because it came up, I was thinking about it while we were just talking, and there was something that triggered in my head, and now I can't remember what that trigger was. But, oh!
Dark horse, he's bad.
Madred is a big, huge influence on any build that runs captains. But with all of these other builds that are not running a lot of really strong captains or anything, I still think that the SotF builds could be viable. Bring along SotF and maybe your own Madred to get rid of basic things like Picard Ducat spheres or something like that, and bring along a couple of the Centurions to keep you alive. So you got SotF, probably not Varel with SotF, but maybe you could use Conditional Surrender and Brunt or something. And then on the other case, we've also got Madred and like 3 copies of Centurion, Lenalis, things like that. Things that will let you basically destroy all of your opponent's captains and still give you enough offensive power to, stay away from fighters until they die by cloaked mines or meteors, and then wreck whatever the carriers were because, well, you're Borg. And you'll have higher skills than everybody, which is awesome and fun and wonderful. That is everything I have there. There's my own pet build, which involves maneuverability, which I'd really like to see do something neat, but I haven't come up with a really good use for it yet. If someone can do that, I will be eternally grateful, and I will definitely feature whatever your build was because it's magnificent, and it's very fun to use maneuverability to fly onto and off of a planet and just take your pot shots and be like, ha ha, you can't catch me. But yeah, those are the non-standard kind of things that I would want to expect or see at regionals, things that you might want to be aware of or kind of prepare for. And yeah, that I think will conclude my thoughts on nationals. Are we good? Are we good here then?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we can do with this, with a speedy top 5. Tucker, how are you on time?
Why are you asking me?
I don't know, because you're the one that usually has to leave early.
Oh, no date tonight, so I'm good. We can go as long as you like.